Ahoy, mateys, and welcome to another episode of We Read It One Night, where we bring you the long-anticipated finale to our chat about listener suggestion It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. In this episode, we spend way more time than usual swooning over Brendan Taggart and his bare hands, if that's even possible. We try to restrain ourselves from spending an hour shit-talking Piper and Hannah's parents, and we give you our fancast for the upcoming movie adaptation. Don't forget to rate and review, and enjoy the show.
Hello, Alison. Today I come to you with several personal dilemmas, including where to find a cheap box mattress. And I define cheap as like under $300. Ideally under $200.
Wait, a
manifesting
box mattress?
The kind that comes in a box, so it's easy to deliver, and you unwrap it.
Oh! I was confused because I was like, does she mean a box spring or like a mattress?
Because I'm only gonna be keeping this mattress for a year, and then I have to get rid of it. So like, I really don't want to drop a whole load of money. Like, I had a great bed and a great mattress that I liked, and then I had to like sell them for $100 on Facebook Marketplace. Like, I don't really want to do that again and like waste a bunch of money.
I had a great box mattress that I liked. I had a Casper that I sold on Facebook. I sold to my former subletter for like $100. So I feel your pain.
Yeah. So that's the first personal dilemma. The second personal dilemma is what's like an easy haircut that does not involve any sort of like day-to-day maintenance whatsoever. Like, no prep.
Haircut? The one that you have right now is your hair?
Well, it's all just one length and long, but I want to do like, I don't know, maybe I should just keep doing that, but like shorter. But I just really need a haircut, and I've been debating, and I don't want to like drop money on 2 haircuts in short succession. You know what I mean? But my split ends are really getting out of hand.
Yeah. Well, you could do like the face framing layers, like starting at
I
your
used
chin.
to always have that. It doesn't really do anything for me. The thing is, the front of my hair is so straight. Layers, I mean, those type of layers are like, okay, it doesn't really do anything. Other layers are just horrendous on my hair. They're just horrible. I don't know what it is, but it's just not meant for my hair. Even though it's wavy in the back, like it's not perfectly straight in the back, but maybe that contributes to it being horrible. Like,
well,
I don't know.
Feel like that contributes because like when you have like wavy hair, I mean, my hair is like a little bit wavier / curlier than yours in the back, but like when I get layers, like the shorter my hair is, the poofier it gets in the back.
The layers just always look so like chunky.
Any hairdressers out there?
Yeah, can you tell me
You
like
can
what I need
probably
to ask
like
for?
see Rachel's. Well, you can see Rachel's current haircut in some of our reels, but also most frequently in our TikToks. She's the one with the long hair. Alison, I am the one with the short hair.
The thing
it's
is,
very
like,
easy to tell us apart.
What really gets me is when you Google like long straight layers. Just Google it, and like Google Images is just full of like it's all styled hair. Like none of it's actually none of it's actually straight. Like it's like blown out, right? Which looks amazing, obviously, but I'm not gonna do that every day. Like that's just not gonna happen. I've just had like bad experience upon bad experience. I hate getting my hair cut. I hate like I've gotten better at the small talk, but it's just like so miserable. And it's just never.
I like it. I just like the meditative of like getting your hair washed and then...
I like that too, but I don't usually pay for that.
But yeah, I don't like talking.
Like, this is not to diss hairdressers. Like, it's great on other people. I just personally have never like, it's just something that I haven't cracked the social code on like how to navigate yet. So
all right, speaking of people who style their hair really well, Piper Bellinger probably gives herself a blowout every morning. She has the patience of a fairy or something, of
a troll waiting under a bridge.
You gotta be the troll toll to get into the voice.
It's not like there's like victims every day. I mean, new friends to be made.
Christ. Okay, you're right. Let's not get into troll politics now. Apologies to any trolls listening. This isn't this is a pro-troll podcast. But Piper, I don't know whether Piper would be pro-troll, but she definitely is pro-hairstylist. And this morning, she is especially grateful that she's all glammed up because where we left off in the book is Brendan is about to pop on over to the bar with some pastries.
Delicious.
And
excellent.
Flirting.
It's like number one way to get into someone's heart, I think, is like know their coffee order. If they're like in general, but like especially if they're like a fancy coffee drinker.
Oh, yeah.
And bring them good pastries. I mean, any pastries is a nice gesture, but like if they're actually like top
But
notch.
like, you know, if it's like just like not a great, if it's just kind of like a, you know, like a dry croissant or like a stale, you
Mm-hmm.
know, like I would just rather I not have anything because like if you bring me a pastry, I don't want to be an asshole and not eat the pastry. So like now I have to eat this shitty brownie that you've brought me.
Mm.
You know, like if it's not
Mm.
good, I would prefer not to have it.
Depends.
We'll see. But I just feel like you can't like someone can't be my soulmate if they cannot like inherently sense my taste in pastries. You know what I mean?
No, but I respect your views. They are
Okay.
valid.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Pastry
Right.
is so hard to make. Lamination so hard.
Oh
Like
no.
I respect the
I
hell
don't
out of
even
it. It's
need to like
magic.
try to do that. I've seen that go wrong enough times on the Great British Bake Off to like
I've never seen
never
it
want to
go
do it.
wrong in the way that it goes wrong for me.
What does that mean?
Like what happens when I try to do it, and I've only tried a handful of times, but like, first of all, the butter is supposed to be cold, but it's impossible to roll out cold butter. But if the butter isn't cold enough, it just leaks out the sides when you're rolling it out. So like
Yeah.
how the fuck are you supposed to do? I guess like you need to use better quality, maybe like, because I don't know, like I guess like that nice Kerrygold butter, like maybe that would roll out better even when it's cold if it's like a nicer butter.
Maybe.
I have no idea, but I don't know.
I don't know. Listener,
I
let
don't
us
know.
know if you're a
Without
baker.
tearing the dough. Yeah.
Like without tearing the dough and without having like without being able to like bench press like 250 pounds, like how do you roll out cold butter?
Yeah.
Let us know. Let us know if there's some trick. Like I feel like someone must have like some sort of like Irish grandmother that like has a special technique, you know.
Mhm.
Give us your family secrets.
Yeah.
While
Anyway,
in exchange for this entertaining episode.
speaking of family secrets, without further ado, It Happened One Summer, Part 2.
By Tessa Bailey. We already start. Okay. All right. And go.
Brennan rolls in with coffee and pastry bag, and Piper's immediately like, there's something different about him. Like, it's something different. I can't put my finger on what it is. Oh, wait, it's his finger. It wasn't my finger. It's his finger this whole time. He took off his ring. And he comes in and he's like, he shows them. It's like,
it wasn't my finger.
his finger the whole time.
Good one. Good one.
Thank you. Thank you. On the fly comment. I don't. I try to give them as unstudied an air
those
as
little
possible.
compliments.
No, for the ladies, try to give them as unstudied an air as possible. So Brendan shows them this like secret little back patio that they didn't know about before. It's like a little like terrace.
You are missing the best part of this,
What?
which is that so he hands them the coffee and pastries, and then he walks over, rips a piece of plywood off the wall with his bare hand, like a piece of plywood that has been nailed in to protect from storms. He rips it off with his bare hands and then like opens the door behind it, and he's like, "Ta-da!"
Oh my God.
And I was like, "Am I attracted to this? Like, am I aroused right now?"
And he's basically like, he makes all these like good suggestions for how it would look nice, and they're like, we don't know how to do that. And he's like, I'll make it. I'll make the entire thing for you. Starting today, I will make it.
And then he leaves. He doesn't.
Yeah.
He never says goodbye. He's just
No.
like, "I'll do it," and then he walks out, and they're like, "Oh, okay, bye, Brent."
Oh my God. And Piper's like, wait, like I'm still unclear on this like friendship thing, but like, is it possible that he came to help because he likes me and not like how I look or what I can do for him? Like,
Yeah. And Hannah's like, "Do you think he's like courting you?" And I was like, "He's definitely. That's exactly what's happening right now." And it was at this point that I realized that my love language is in fact having a man build me
acts of
things.
service.
Like he builds them a pergola.
What is
like
a
with
pergola?
it's
They
those
keep saying that
it's those
word.
like lattice things.
Oh, okay.
That like, and you can like, they're like inconvenient because like they don't really protect you against the rain, but you like grow flowers on them, and so like it's a big canopy of flowers like once you like maintain
Wow.
it.
That's so nice.
And he builds that with his fucking bare hands. So they're building. Brendan has brought he has finagled his fishing crew into helping. He's like, I have to go.
Yeah, because they have
the
their
woman I
days
love.
off.
We're gonna go make it.
Oh
He makes them
God.
go build and renovate the back porch of this bar on their day off, and he's there, and they're all shooting the breeze. And then like Piper's like, "Oh, Brendan, like you haven't posted a picture like on your Instagram account." And then he's like, do I have to do that? And then someone's like, yeah, no, they'll delete your account.
Yeah.
Like everyone's like in on the gag and they're like, yeah, you got to do it. They'll delete the account. So like she gets him to do a photo shoot and she like makes him smile by telling him that she's been ordering all his favorite foods and like captures a picture. And then like she shows him the picture and he's like, I know that they don't delete your account. This was to make you smile. I melted into I mean, I'm already melting into a puddle because it's 90 degrees in New York, but I melted. That was like the complete like melting.
It was so pleasant and nice today. It's like the perfect temperature.
Speak for yourself.
My
pit stains are insane.
I literally went for a walk today and I was like, wow, like I bet Alison would actually like this weather. She wouldn't complain that it's too hot.
And listen, maybe it's New York summer is also just like infinitely muggier and like more humid.
It's not humid at all. It was like
New York, like it's like New York in the summer is just constantly humid, even if it's not supposed to be. That's just how New York 60%.
Is. Wow. Anyway, they finish the pergola and he's like, okay, now it's time for me to ask you to dinner. And Piper's like, did you think you had to like build me a pergola first? And he's like, no, but I forget how.
He's like, I've been working up the nerve.
Oh, yeah. I was distracting myself while I worked up the nerve to ask you out. And she's like, fine.
But it's totally casual, right? It's totally casual. It's casual.
It's just about like, yeah.
And Brendan is like, grumble, grumble, grumble. We'll see.
So he picks her up for the date.
And then no, you forgot. He asks her out. She says yes. And then he does a goddamn like nurse and sailor in Times Square dip kiss with her.
Oh.
He tips her over, kisses her, and then they're like full making out. And Piper's like, and no, it's in the bar. They're inside the bar. And Piper's like, oh my God, like this kiss leads to sex. Like you don't kiss like this. So like, we're going to fuck right here in the bar. And I genuinely believe they would have fucked right there in the bar if Hannah hadn't come and interrupted them.
Because it basically, that happens later.
I mean, they do that later.
Yeah. And she's like, I'm going back to LA, right? And he's like, no, like, we'll see. He's like, So he picks up for the date a day later, and they're going back to his house, and he's like going to make her dinner, but he still like picks her up because he's like, I don't want her to be like walk it. Yeah, because
he's like, she's going to be wearing silly shoes, so I have to pick her up in my truck.
Yeah, he's like, everyone's staring at me because they're not expecting me to like be out in my truck right now because it's not my routine. And I'm like, with that seems like very observant for like the local townsfolk to be like that aware of like your truck, Brendan. Like, all right, but I'll take it for what. Yeah, but he's like, actually, I don't mind because I have to leave for a fishing trip tomorrow, and I don't mind that like everyone in town knows that like I've staked my claim.
It's like marking his territory a little bit. But listen, Brendan is a local town hottie. This is like a small town. I'm guessing it's like a few hundred people, like maximum. And let me look up the population of Westport right now. Actually, the population of Westport, Washington is 2,200.
Wow.
So 2,200, basically the size of our high school.
It's pretty fucking small, yeah.
It's the size of the high school that we graduated from. Mm-hmm. So you're telling me that everyone doesn't know who Brendan, like everyone, he's a captain, he's a local town hottie. Like, absolutely. There's a gossip chain. They're like, Brendan's on the move. Like, where's he going? Like, so like one of the local gals can go like, spruce up and go to flirt with him. Yeah, drop her handkerchief in the street. Like, yeah, no, there are 2,000 people in that town. They definitely know. They all know who Brendan is and what his truck looks like. 100%.
So they go back to his house. It's like pretty cool. Whatever. It's driftwood furniture, which is neat.
I was like, at this point, I was like, he's like going to pick her up in his truck. He's like made her dinner, and he's made her like what sounds like a nice dinner. Like he's put in like this man knows how to cook. Like, well, yes, but like he's put it like he's marinated it. Like he's put in effort. He hasn't just like popped something in the oven.
Sure.
I was like, up until this point, he was really. I was like, you are winning 10 out of 10 every category, and then he has to go and ruin it by having an open concept house. I was very upset. Because I was really into it. And then Piper's like, oh, yeah, it's open. It's an open concept downstairs. And I was like, no.
Presumably they could get a new house. Like they don't have
I see this as Tessa Bailey's way of ensuring that I remain rooted in the fact that this is fiction and that Brendan doesn't actually exist. Like, so I don't just lose my mind pining after this man. It's really a kindness.
Yeah. So they eat like approximately one bite of this fish, and then they start making out.
But it starts because Brendan got her champagne, and she's like, try some of this champagne, and he tries it. She like slips it into his mouth, and they start like kissing. And like, I know this is objectively sexy, and there's probably a sexy way to do this, but I could only picture it as like her mama birding it.
Oh my God. Ew. Like fountain. Oh.
No, but not even that. I was like, I don't know how, like, I don't know. They're like close. Like he's like bending down a little bit, and she's like,
why wouldn't it be from the cup?
No, it's from her mouth. It's from her mouth.
No, I don't need that.
Yes.
No.
It's from her mouth.
No, thank you. I've seen what I needed to see. No. They start making out, and he's like touching her butt or something, and she's like, "You're an ass man, I guess." And he's like, "No, Piper. I'm a this ass man."
Yes.
And then
they're making out, and he's like, he's about to come. So he like is like eating her out briefly, but then she starts giving him a hand job, and he's like, hell no. Like, you're getting off, baby, or nobody's getting off. And I was like, yes.
It's like, oh, he's so great. Like, and now we're adding generous to the mix. But I'm like, is it real? Like, I don't know. I just feel like is it really generous to be like both people should be getting off? Like, is that really, that's not generous. That's just like even.
Well, that's like not her experience.
Yeah, I know.
Because this is, Piper has an orgasm, and this is her first man-induced orgasm.
Right. Yeah.
Like, she's orgasmed from like masturbation. She's never orgasmed from like
right. I know. And I know it's not her experience, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like it's like a general thing that.
Yeah. I mean, it is like throughout the book, I feel like you get the vibe that like Brendan is like very much into going down on her like at all opportunities. So I think Brendan is probably a very generous lover.
I just feel like that should be like the baseline.
Yes, but the bar is in hell, Rachel. The bar is in hell.
Yeah.
Anyway, he eats her out, and she's like, wow, I don't have to fake it this time. Like, I'm actually coming. And I was like, oh, Piper.
Oh my God.
And then he comes all over her stomach.
Okay. Thank you.
Wait, no. But I just want to say, I want to say it because he says something right before he leaves. She's like, just friends. She says something like, just friends, right? Like, we're just like, this is like still casual. And he's like, I'm going to fuck. He's like, when I come back after my 2-week fishing trip, I'm going to fuck the word friend right out of your beautiful mouth. Yes.
I also enjoyed the like, she's like, oh, you probably think I'm high maintenance. And he's like, you can be as high maintenance as you want to be, as long as I'm the one doing the maintenance.
He's like, I love you and your high maintenance pussy. And I was like, yes.
God. He goes on, so it's the big crab fishing trip. Like, this is like the big one.
Yes, it's the big king crab.
The almighty king crab.
Chop, chop, chop. I just imagine like a giant spectral crab like in the sky, like floating above all the fishing boats, like clacking its claws ominously.
I just like feel so bad for all the little crabs.
Wait, I saw a video that was like this woman found like a blue crab. She was like in China. It was in New York, and she was like in Chinatown. She just like found it in like a puddle in the street, and she was like, oh my God. And she like put it in a little box. And then like at the end of the video, she like dumps it in like either the Hudson or the East River. And I first saw that, and I was like, no. Yeah. But then all the commenters were like, no, those crabs are native to like those rivers. Like, it's fine.
Are they like brackish? Yeah, are there? I guess
yeah, it's like brackish. Okay, yeah, because it's right by the ocean. Yeah, so like those rivers are brackish. But I saw it, and I just like almost had a heart attack. But then the comments reassured me.
That reminds me. So back to Leon the lobster. A bunch of people would comment like, why don't you just like release Leon into the wild? Like, release him back into the wild. And like the guy did like a deep he's like, yeah, people will like fucking do that. They'll like buy lobsters and like release them into the wild. But like, do you know what? You need to drive the lobster like 50 miles offshore, do like a specialized like re-release, like make sure you're like doing it exactly. Like, you can't just like you put them on the beach and like, okay, they're gonna be seagull meat like tomorrow. Like, they're not making, Yeah. So
no, I mean, well, it's also like how some people will like buy goldfish and then fucking release them into the ocean.
Yeah.
That's guys. It's not just like the goldfish are not just gonna die. Like, they're gonna have a slow, painful strangulation if you release them. I've seen release them in the ocean, but even just releasing them into your like local stream is bad because it like ruins the local.
It's bad for the stream, yeah.
Like, and goldfish are an invasive species.
It's a slow strangulation. It's not just
because the salt slowly clogs their gills.
God.
And so they like choke.
Oh, I've never even heard of that. I wish I'd never
very slowly.
Don't do that, people.
I'm sorry. Now you have to live with this.
Hannah has like, ever since her little trip to the record store, she has like she's like a quote unofficial employee of Disc and Dat, and I'm like, so what does that mean? Just like an unpaid service?
She just doesn't get paid.
Like, what is an unofficial employee, girl?
What does
Like,
that mean?
Does that mean no taxes or no money? Like, which one?
One of those is better. One thing is not like the other. Here.
So they have their 2 weeks, and then suddenly there's a storm a brewing, and Piper's like, Brendan's supposed to come back. Like, it's so weird. Why is everyone closing down early? And she like asks this girl on the street. She's like, oh, like, is there like a big storm coming or something? And the girl like laughs, and she's like, oh wait, you're serious? Like, there's a typhoon coming down from Alaska. And Piper's like Googling what a typhoon is. And a typhoon is basically a hurricane that originates in like a different part of the world, right? But
in tropical waters specifically, which I was confused about.
Yeah, same. Because I was like, if it's tropical or subtropical, how could it be coming down from Alaska to Washington? Maybe it brews up
like
in like
the current,
and then it goes up to Alaska, and then it comes down to Washington. It's just
and
like
it becomes a typhoon
because
it's the like low pressure to high pressure to low like change.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
So Hannah like has gone to Disc and Dat or something. Like, she's not there, and Piper
she's bunkering down in the store because
she's like, I'll be back in 10 minutes. It gets really, really bad. Like, the power goes off. Like, she's freaking out. She's like, oh my god, Brendan's gonna die. Like, this is terrible. And before Brendan left, he gave her a key to his place. He's like, just in case you and Hannah like need somewhere to stay. Like, just
he's like, it gets cold, and the heating's probably not that good.
Right. So she's like, oh my god. Like,
and he's like, don't freak out. This is just a fucking, like, chill out.
Right.
Just a key. Backs off slowly.
Like, yeah, wait. I somehow managed to like tie a knot in my headphones.
Jesus Christ.
No, they were choking me. Okay, we're back.
Talk about slow strangulation. Rachel with her headphones.
Piper is like, well, it only took me 5 minutes in the car to drive to Brendan's place, so I should be able to run there in like 10 minutes or something.
Oh my god.
She like sprints across town in a fucking typhoon. She gets to the house and goes inside and like takes I love the like coming in from the rain, taking a cozy shower, like sleeps in his bed. She's like, oh, this is great.
She puts on his shirt. She like sleeps in his shirt.
Yeah. And then the next morning she like sees Hannah, and Hannah's like, all right, don't freak out. Brendan's crew was airlifted by helicopter from Alaska last night.
Someone got hurt.
Oh my god. Hospital. And she's like Piper like freaks out, and she's like,
Piper
oh my god,
loses her goddamn mind. She just enters like a fugue state.
Takes
she steals his truck.
Finds his key. Yeah. And she runs to the hospital, and we have the classic like person, you get to the hospital, you ask for the person, they're like, go to the ICU, and she goes to the ICU, and like no one's around, and oh my gosh, it's like terrible. And then like person strolls out like completely totally like not I
love this scene. I love everything about this scene. He's like, Piper, and then he's like, and then because he didn't get hurt, it was like one of the other crew members, and he's like, is that my shirt, honey? And she's like, no, I have one just like it. Meanwhile, she's like sobbing, and Brendan's like, she thinks she's keeping it together. She keeps trying to like wink and smile at me, but like she's also sobbing.
So like Alexis from Schitt's Creek. And she's like, I brought you I was just trying to be neighborly to come check on you. I brought you your truck just to be neighborly. Like, I brought it for you. And
and he's like, can you come here? Like, he's like, you can be neighborly, but like, come here, let me hug you. And she's like, you can't just put me in the recharging station. And this is like, and that's what she calls his hugs, like when he hugs her. And this is the first time we hear this. And the way that it was introduced, like, I remember the first time I read it, I was like, wait, was that like mentioned before?
See, are you finally gonna understand I feel like it's the same thing as the random pet names. Like, that's how I feel when the random pet names are brought in. Okay. Like, without any context. It's just like, suddenly you're sunshine, suddenly you're honey. The honey thing is not that bad here, but like, just generally, like the pet names that are out of context that make no sense. It's like a recharging station.
But I like it. I like that she calls his hugs. Yeah. He's like, my hugs are your recharging station. And she's like, stop assigning meaning to my words. And he's like, come on. He's just like a scared horse. And he's like, ushering her in, and then he hugs her. And we have a hooju, which is a hug and jump. It's a bachelor. It's a bachelor. The Bachelor, how they always do
a bunch of those. Yeah. Like legs around the waist.
It's a hooju. And who was it? I don't know. Some Bachelor podcast who like, it's the one that like has like a whole intricate like math system around the Bachelor and like who is like the best player like of the game. And that's like their term, a hooju.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And Brendan's like, if he was honest with himself, like his gut had been telling him Piper would be important since the first time he saw her in her floppy hat. And it reminded me of that like love at second sight thing, like that Japanese phrase or whatever. Like, I don't know how to pronounce it.
Oh yeah, like when you see someone you know they're going to be important.
Yeah. Also, this is already happened, but like we find out that Brendan like brought the crew home a little bit early from crab season to like avoid the typhoon. They're like, pretty much keep them safe. But they had like they already had like 99% of their crab quota, but they left like 5 pots unchecked. And so does that mean that those like crabs are just gonna like die in their cages and never get eaten? They're just gonna die stuck in the cage? Or is it like the kind of thing where the trap only traps them once it's lifted up and they're free to come and go?
I don't know.
I'm gonna choose to believe the latter, but I don't think that's right.
I mean, but if they just leave them, I feel like they have to go back and get them, because if they just leave them there, like I feel like that's some sort of like fine.
They definitely don't leave to go back and get them, because that would defeat the whole purpose of having like a 3-week trip to get all the pots.
Well, they have to leave them behind because they can only get a certain amount of crabs. Like they're not allowed. No,
they could have got they could have got the rest of them. He cuts them off at 99% instead of 100% because they don't need it. He does it for safety.
Yeah, but they do also have a quote like they can't.
Yeah, I know.
They can't catch like a more than a. No,
but they could check it and then release. Yeah, they could.
Know.
Right, they could have like females and stuff in those pots too. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So it has to be that like the crabs aren't going to die. Like they just like are spared.
Yeah, I don't think the crabs are going to die.
Know. Maybe not.
I don't know.
Anyway,
I don't know. I know with lobster fishing, you got to put the breeding females back, and you got to like mark them so that they
usually with crabs too. They said that here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
nice. Yeah, so presumably the crabs are fine.
Yeah.
I choose to believe part of the HEA is the crabs that haven't been caught.
The scared crabs.
The crabs that have been caught are fucked.
Oh, poor guys.
Poor crabs. Just have to like forget about that. Anyway, they do the hooju, and that very quickly leads to hospital sex again, but like against a wall. And like, yes, am I happy? In like an empty room. There's not other patients in there, and they've like closed the door and like pulled a curtain. But like, yes, am I happy for Piper that she has received her first dick-induced like penetrative orgasm? Yes, of course I'm happy for her. But I'm also like, people are trying to heal here, dudes, and you guys are like yelling. You guys are very loud. Like,
oh my god, I just like forgot that they actually had sex in the hospital too, because I was like, oh my god, so we're going there, because I was like, wait, she's like fully naked, like this is weird. And then I was like, wait, no, she's not wearing underwear because her thong was wet. Right.
Yeah, no, they fuck in the hospital, and I do appreciate that she's like I'm about to come or something, and Brendan is like, every time, like you come every time. And he also at one point has a thought where he's like, I'll do anything for her if she says please. And I really like that. That's another micro trope I like, when he's like, oh, I can't deny her anything when she says please. Grumble, grumble, grumble.
Brendan's like, we need to put a label on this. Like, and Piper's like, what about like friends with benefits? And he's like, no. How about more than friends? And Piper's like, that could mean anything. Married people are more than friends. And he's like, why do I like that so much?
He's like, don't think about how much you like that.
Oh my god. They come out holding hands and run into none other than Mick, who again is Brendan's father-in-law.
Mick is just constantly ruining the mood, like constantly bringing it down. Mick is upset.
Piper like rips her hand out of Brendan's hand, and she's like, I should go, like you need to stay and make sure that like Sanders is okay. And Brendan's like, no, like we'll go back together. Like, it's also his fucking truck, so like why?
Yeah, she's like, you can get a ride home with Mick. And I'm like, Piper,
your truck.
It's his truck.
Yeah, so they go, and Brendan feels bad, and I get, he's like, I obviously don't regret like pursuing Piper, but I should have like I shouldn't have blindsided Mick. I should have like told him,
because this is the first time Mick like sees him without the wedding ring and like kind of understands that like Brendan is like going to move on. Yeah, and he's like, I should have gone to talk to him, which is fair. Like, if you have a close relationship with your father-in-law or like former father-in-law, he always calls him his father-in-law, but like, is he still technically his father-in-law? Like,
yeah, I would say it stays your father-in-law. But also, let me just say, like earlier at some point, like Brendan was like, yeah, I really like my routines. Like maybe that's why I got so stuck on the death part of till death do us part. Like why I still feel like I'm married. But I'm like, I think you missed. You're so close. You missed the mark on that, though. It's not like both people have to die. Death is the thing parting you, meaning one of you is not dead. Like,
yeah, he does it I mean, you just want to talk about this now, or like I forget when they talk about it. He does it also because he feels guilty, because he's like, I wasn't the best husband.
Right.
Like I didn't know how to incorporate someone else into like my routines, and I was like pretty inattentive, and also like, yeah, we liked each other, but like we really just got married. Like a lot of it was just because Mick like wanted us to get married, and so we were like, okay, I mean, this town has 2,200 people. Who else am I gonna marry? And then she like he's away on a fishing trip and she dies from an aneurysm while walking on the beach. And he's like, I know there's nothing I could have done, but like I still feel like I should have been, like I wasn't even there when she died.
She like always walked by herself. It wasn't like just when he wasn't there. So they go home.
Then they go partying with Opal. They've gotten Opal out of the house, and they have a little ladies' night, and the local ladies get Piper drunk. And we like the scene like skips forward an hour, and Piper's giving them essentially like a drunk version of the bend and snap demonstration from Legally Blonde.
Yes. Oh my God. And she's like, we'll have a Labor Day party at the bar. Like everyone's invited. Like,
and she's like, oh, maybe I should have talked to Hannah about that, but who cares? Like, woo!
Yeah, like,
and at some point when she's like dancing, Brendan comes in, and he's so cute. He's just like leaning against the door, and he's like, oh, she's so drunk and silly, and I'm in love with her.
Because he had texted her like earlier that night and been like, what's up? And she's like catch you maybe at the bar XOXO, like trying to be like casual, and he's like, okay, like all right.
He's like, all right, I'll be there to pick you up in my truck once again.
Right.
She like saunters up to him, and she's like, this morning was the best sex of my life. And she says it like just as the music cuts out.
Yeah.
And Brendan is like, this is really embarrassing for her, but also like I'm really glad that all the men at the bar who have been looking at her ass know that we're having sex, and that so far I've been really good at it. Like I kind of like this.
Like, she's like, once again, she's like, I love being here in the recharging station. You're like a big hard teddy bear from the sea, like tuna from the sea, but with a bear. And I just really appreciate all the bear references, because you know that is our
bears are cat adjacent.
Yes,
that's true. And then he picks her up, he takes her home. He's like, yeah, I already stopped by the bar and got an overnight bag from Hannah.
Yeah.
Like, your sleepover, God. Like, don't worry. Like, your parents have arranged a sleepover. You're coming over to my house tonight.
Oh my God. And this is like drunk Piper. This brings out like a lot of issues that they have to discuss or whatever. They keep like referencing, like, we'll talk about it, you know, in the morning. We'll add it to like the talking points in the morning or whatever. And Piper's like, what if I'm pot pie? Like, what if you just like took a bite of me, and even though you don't like me, you like feel like you have to like, I don't know what the you
have to like finish it. Like you have to like stick to it. Like you've committed to it. And Brendan's like, he's like, clearly these are some like deep rooted insecurities, because he's like filtering through all the other stuff that she said about herself. But also he's like, but I have not done enough to make her feel secure, clearly, like very stubborn with himself. But then she says, there are thousands of me in LA, and Brendan screeches to a halt. He like basically fishtails over to the side of the road, and he's like, there is nobody like you. Got it? Don't ever say that about yourself.
Yeah, he like thinks it's a joke, and then he realizes,
he's like, no, God. Again, he's ready to like take on a whole army anytime she's mean to herself.
So then he gets her home and like in pajamas or whatever, and somehow like it comes out like he realizes that she ran over to his house like in the middle of the storm, and like Piper like pretends to faint to like get out of answering to that. And then they just like cuddle and fall asleep, and he mouths, I love you in her head, over her head.
She falls on the bed, and he goes into the bathroom to like get her a toothbrush or something, and then he like comes back, and it's like that like sound, like TikTok like reel sound, where it's like, oh, this looks pretty good, where your clothes at? Because like she's just lying on the bed and nothing but a thong.
Oh my
He's
God.
like, when did you take your clothes off? What are you doing?
Oh my God.
But he doesn't have sex with her because he's a good man who appreciates consent.
The next morning she wakes up and she's like, where is he? Like, he must just want to only be friends because he's not here, like, or something. Then she goes downstairs and she does like the same thing that he was doing at the bar. She like leans on the wall, like watching him without him noticing, and she's just like, how dare he with those thighs? Like, did he use them to anchor the boat? Like, how dare he?
Brendan is actually the anchor. That's why the boat is so safe. Yeah. He ties himself down, launches himself out to the bottom of the sea, and holds onto the ocean floor with his bare hands. That's why his fingers are so big. That's why he can't use technology. His hands are so big from holding onto the ocean floor.
Oh my God. That's why her hair is so big.
He's Aquaman.
Oh my God. And he's like, we're going on the boat today and we're going to have our talk TM.
And once again, I would like to emphasize that this is the boat that her dad died on. I just want to bring this.
Just never.
Not to kill the mood, but I want to emphasize that I was thinking about this the whole time. And if I had to think about it the whole time, then you do too.
It was never acknowledged. And they talk about like could the boat ever flip over? And we find out that like during this crab season, a man went missing off a boat and an entire boat went missing also. Like an entire boat just
He's like, don't worry, it was the Russians.
Does he say that? Like, I don't even think he tells her that. He's just like thinking it. He's just like, it's rare.
Yeah.
Like, it's rare nowadays. But like, an entire boat, what?
Entire boat goes down.
Oh my God.
Those waves are no joke. Like, if you ever looked up videos of like, you know, those like boats in fucking like Alaskan storms, it's like insane. It's like the fucking waves from Interstellar. Like, you think it's a mountain, but no, it's a wave.
And it's just like insane if you think about it. Like, can we just leave the crabs? And like, it would save crab lives, it would save human lives, it would save boat lives, probably. Like,
boats are she's, so clearly like they're sentient.
But anyway, they have their little chat and like, I don't know, they just like have a heart-to-heart.
She's like, I'm not strong enough to be a fisherman's wife. Like, I'm not strong enough to like sit here in the cardigan by the window and be like, when will my husband return from battling with the crabs? And he's like, yes, you are strong enough. And then this is when he explains about Desiree, and he's also once again now verbalizes that he's going to punch whoever like told you were the same as everyone else. He's like, I will kill them, just so you know. I want to. Well, he's like, I want to meet the person who told you that. ... And like, you're just have to fill the blank with whatever violent act.
And I mean a meaty punch
with my bare hands that hold on to the ocean floor.
My hand. My God, he's fucking Poseidon. I told you, he can breathe underwater. Yeah. So they go into like the cabin room or whatever, and she's like, some of the other guys have like pictures or whatever, and she's like, you don't have any pictures. Do you want one of me? He's like, yes, yes.
She doesn't even finish her sentence.
Oh my God. And then they have like a naked photo shoot, basically, which
takes some nudes.
I know we like Brendan, but I'm gonna generally say just like just don't do that with someone you've only known for like a month.
Yeah.
There's no reason, really, I feel like.
No. Yeah, they do like she's like slowly strips and he like takes a picture of her like each time.
Yeah.
And it's fully consensual. I also saw it as like Piper, I mean, she said this. She's like, I have gotten practically naked and like put it on Instagram like many, many times before. And obviously it's like different, like even if you've gotten naked in like a setting in which you choose to like make it public, it's like different if someone like, you know, releases intimate photos of you. But like,
it's more like it's a red flag if someone's like asking you to I don't know. Like,
well, she brings it up.
I would just be
she brings it up. Yeah.
I don't know. Just be careful out there, kiddos.
Yellow flag.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on I don't know. But don't ever feel like you have to do that. Like if someone, I don't know. Anyway,
they fuck on the boat. He's like, screen for me, baby. And she's like, all my inhibitions were released. And I proceeded to be like, feel the rain on your skin. No one else can feel it for you. Only you can let it release your inhibitions. That's Piper orgasming. And she does a little butt stuff. We have little butts.
Oh yeah,
she slips her little fingy into his butt, and then afterwards he's like, so are we just not going to talk about the finger thing? And this is a continuing theme.
But it's the tongue thing later on. But I didn't know what is the actual tongue thing. I don't know.
He eats out her ass in a later sex scene. He eats out her ass. So in this scene, she just puts one of her little fingers in his butt while they're fucking, and later on he eats her ass out. And I was like, nice. I like a creative man.
multi-tool. So they get back to the boat and like Piper goes home. His fingers are good for more than one thing. And Brendan,
wait! You missed a cat. We missed a cat reference. A cat. It's not specifically a cat reference, but it felt very cat-like. So they arrive. Specifically, Brendan's like, "Oh, we arrived much later, like back at the port than I thought we would, because Piper fell asleep on my chest and I didn't want to move her." And I was like, it's like a cat. It's like when a cat falls asleep on you can't move.
Yes.
Piper's the cat in this situation.
Yes. And they get home, she like goes to bed, and he immediately like screeches on over to Fox's place for some dating advice. And Fox he's like giving him his like classic like hookup advice, and then he's like, wait a second, like this is a convoluted like fish metaphor. He's like, you're trying to keep the fish in the boat. Like, wow, things have progressed a lot since we last spoke. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Brendan's basically like, if she were to stay here, he's like, well, obviously I wouldn't move. She would have to move here. And if she did, she would be giving up everything. And like, so because she has to give up everything, I have to keep her happy. But then he's like, what makes women happy? And Fox is like, well, hypothetically.
Yeah. It's like, take Piper's sister Hannah. She likes records. If I wanted to make her happy, I'd bring her to Seattle tomorrow for the Vinyl Expo. And kids, that's called foreshadowing.
I loved Fox and Hannah's book. Yeah, that's the next book. And it is like also equally as good. But yeah, he's like that I just so happen to know about. Like I definitely didn't look that up myself because I was looking up things that Hannah would be interested in because I have a big, huge crush on her. I just, happened upon, I was scrolling on Facebook and one of those events popped up and I was like, oh, what's that? And then I remembered the date and time and address. And now I'm telling you, he's like, we should all go to a
little group trip.
Maybe like the four of us. And then Piper conveniently the next day is like, can I borrow your truck? Like we have to drive somewhere that's like halfway to Seattle to get like a lamp or something like from this woman. Yeah. And he's like, well, why don't we just go all the way to Seattle and we'll stay overnight.
Make a weekend of it. Yeah.
In a sweet ass hotel. What turns out to be a really sweet hotel.
So they go on their little road trip. Hannah makes a road trip playlist and she's like, here, just hit shuffle. And that's just so, there's no way if you're the type of person that's like super into music, you're making a playlist, you're going to put that playlist in the order you want it. Yeah, it's not just going to be a shuffle type deal. Like no fucking way.
No. She wants to write movie soundtracks.
Yeah.
Like she likes order. She likes things in order. Yeah. Also at this point, Piper and Hannah invite Daniel to come over to the Labor Day party so that they can like check out the bar. And she feels kind of like icky about it. She's like, oh, it's like I'm still trying to leave, but like I'm building this thing with Brendan. But also Daniel is once again being a dick. She's like, oh, you want to come? And he's like, oh, like, I guess we'll see if I can make room in my schedule.
Yeah.
And they're like, do you think mom will come? And he's like, no. Mom doesn't want to go back there. Not even for her children. Like,
right.
Fucking Maureen.
He was like, I was expecting you to call me a lot before this, like begging to come home. Or like, all right, well, how are you going to respond? Like,
Daniel's, well, he doesn't care about them. And he's frankly glad they're finally out of his nice little cozy life with the only person he does care about. So anyway, Brendan takes her shopping.
She gets her first pair of jeans, seemingly. Like, and I do like that in this book, there is very little like foreshadowing or like allusion to the Seattle trip before it happens, and B, they actually make it like to Seattle. Yes, it is a vast improvement in that respect. Yeah,
Stephanie Meyer, take notes.
Yeah. Oh my god.
And he takes her shopping, and she's like,
wait. I just realized that Piper and Brendan like could be Charlie and Renee, basically, but like with a happy ending.
Yeah.
Very much like,
except that Maureen Piper is nothing Piper, like if Maureen was Piper, basically.
Including people liking Piper immediately because Renee has like that power where she like
she
projects her thoughts and like people want to like make her happy.
Insane. She has like mind control.
People like allegedly like Piper a lot, but also like we get a lot of like people unfairly judging her, so I don't know what to believe. But yeah, okay, they go shopping.
But she's like friendly. Like I think it's like this whole town is like when she like isn't putting on this like superficial image of like the socialite influencer. People are like, like whatever, like you're cool, you're nice to me, I'm nice to you, like whatever.
Yeah, just her Piper sparkle.
Yeah, but he's like, she has her Piper sparkle. Remember that? So he's like, I'm gonna take you shopping, and she's like, oh, you don't have to do that. Like I don't need all that material stuff. And he's like, spoiling you makes my dick hard. And she's like, in that case.
She has her first pair of jeans.
So she finds out he's rich, and she's like, haha, oh, we have to break up for my own good because I've just learned the value of money. And Boo Boo the fool Brendan thinks that she's serious and immediately goes feral, like rips open the curtain, and he's like, what? And she's like, dude, I'm choking. I was joking.
Gosh.
It's fine.
Oh, baby. Actually, I didn't really write down the math. I just remember thinking it was like, well, he gets $100 per crab. It works out to like $8 million or something. But then you have to like account for all the expenses, and there's 5 people, and like it worked out to not that absurd of an amount. I remember we did the math the first time I read this book. I remember, but Anyway,
it's still a good chunk of change though, and that's like he does fishing throughout the year. Like the king
true. That's
crab
just from the
season is
1
like
week
their
weeks. Yeah.
big week.
Payday.
It's like their
Yeah.
biggest payday, but he does
Right.
it like consistently throughout the year. So like,
Right.
and he's
Yeah.
like a single man in a probably very cheap place to live.
Right. So he's what Charlie should be, like police chief
there's no income
Swan.
tax in Washington, right?
It's true. Yeah, no income tax in
So
Washington.
Brendan has probably a very sizable nest egg for sure.
He tries tiramisu and likes it. I'm just like, tiramisu is gross, but like I'm happy for him trying new things.
And he's like, while they're still in the fucking dressing room, they have God. Like Hades and Persephone, is that you? Like these people have an unacknowledged like exhibition kink for sure, because they keep doing all this shit in public places. He whispers in her, he's like, I'm gonna spoil you with my credit card now, then have you sit on my face and spoil you with my mouth later. And I was like, yes, excellent. Excellent. Except retail workers do not get paid enough to overhear that shit, and we know the retail lady, like she's bringing jeans back and forth for Piper, so she's definitely in the vicinity and she definitely has to listen to that.
I know, and this is like the first thing. There's at least 2 things that make me think that Tessa Bailey does like not have an accurate like depiction of retail workers, because Piper was giving like those girls like makeover tips or whatever. Later on, we're gonna find out like one of them is gonna be like, Piper showed me like a smoky eyeshadow, and like 2 customers asked me out at work this week, and I'm like, all right, why would you want that? Like what?
Well, in a town of 2,200.
At work though, like yeah, so they could find you after work. Like anyway,
yeah. Well, they already anyway. No, it's don't ask people out at their place of work. But also Piper's thinking, she says, and I quote, she was hopelessly, irrevocably in love with this man. And I was like, okay, Bella Swan, is that you? God. You know, that definitely was not, I don't think that was well, actually, this takes place in Washington, so maybe that was an on-purpose reference. But I choose to believe that Tessa Bailey was just like a big twihard. And so like all twihards, like fully ingrained that phrase into her psyche and like unconsciously used it here.
Yeah. And that's after they find his signature scent. And I appreciate that like she actually finds like a scent for like a cologne for him. You know, it's not just like somehow
he mail and
mystical, mystical, like really good smell. Because like I don't know. I like that it's an actual like scent.
That's something that I like, particularly in like historicals, when they're like, oh, she smelled of like vanilla and orange blossom. I'd like when the historical is like, oh yeah, that's the soap that she uses,
right?
And that's why she smells like that. And that's something that happened in Bridgerton, I think, because he's like, she smells of lilies, and like there's the bath scene, and they're like, do you want the lily soap? And like that's why she smells like lily. No, that happens in the
oh, does it
show?
Okay. No.
He's like, you smell like lilies. And that he says that after, like, we have the scene of her taking the bath and being like, lily soap. And then he's like, that scent, lilies.
Yeah. And then you associate it with the person. But like people don't naturally smell like fucking like peonies or whatever. Like that's not like orange blossoms. No.
Yeah, I like when there's a reason for them to smell like that. Like naturally people, I feel like most people, it smell kind of gross.
Yeah, like it's not
just like natural human scent is like not that great, frankly.
Well, and I mean that's supposed to be a thing that you like smell. You know, the sense of smell is like supposed to be what like attracts you to someone.
Like
but
pheromones,
like, I guess. Well, not just well, yeah, but like, well, there's something about like when you're on birth control. Apparently, that's like muted. Like you don't like people smell different when you are on or off birth control. Allegedly, like that's like a real thing, and that's like,
that
especially
makes sense. I mean, that makes sense because it blocks your hormones.
But yeah, but like. No, like not that you smell different. Other people smell different to you.
No, I know, because it's blocking your hormones.
Yeah, but like I'm like I just feel like, I don't know. I just feel like it's this mystical like I just don't understand the idea of someone like just inherently smelling. I don't know. And that's like a thing.
Maybe I need to go off birth control. I would say, I can go off birth control and check, but Roe v. Wade just got overturned, so I don't want to like start
smelling. Yeah, I don't know. I don't.
And like go sniffing random, just like, can you just like hold out your arm? Can I just?
Yeah, I'm just curious. Like, right? No, and I would assume like that's like you have to be clean. That's like the baseline. I would assume. Right, like I'm assuming like sweat is not going to be good ever. Like I don't know. It's a mystery for another day, but I appreciate.
We could do some deep dives into this after we finish recording this. Anyway, so then they go upstairs and they have sex, and he eats her out. But right before that happens, that I skipped over, she gets a call from Kirby, and Kirby is like, Us Weekly, or some sort of tabloid is like, done an article, like you're like the missing like socialite or whatever. Like you threw the biggest party and then disappeared, and like now I'm arranging a party for your comeback, and like they're willing to pay you like 6 figures to like drink their champagne and wear their dresses. And I was like, ooh, that is tempting. That is tempting. And yeah, Piper feels bad. She's confused. She's like, she's like, do I really want that anymore? But then her and Brendan fuck and they have mutual I love yous and he eats her butt out. And also Piper hiccups when she comes. I think this particularly stuck out to me because we called out the fact that Henry in red, white, and royal blue laughs when he comes. Piper hiccups when she comes.
I didn't notice that. It seems less weird, still weird, but less weird than the laughing. I don't know. Maybe it's actually weirder. I don't know.
It's only in this one scene too. It doesn't seem to be like a every time thing that she does, but she specifically hiccups in this scene, and I was like, interesting. I was like, I'm going to be a lot more conscious of this. Yeah, she's wearing jeans. She's a little bit bloated. Like, there's extra gas.
It's got to get out somehow. Okay, so that's nice. They go home. And they have their
kind
like,
of
nice
settle
little
into a routine.
Yeah.
And I do like Piper has a thought where she's like, I need to have a life like outside of Brendan in Westport. Like I need to have like my own friends and things that I
realizes she has that. She's like, wait, I have friends, Patty and Val, which like just put time out for a second. Like the idea that like that would be the two like millennials, presumably, that she's like randomly Patty and Val.
I mean,
like
no town.
Val's kind of cool, but like
Valerie.
I don't know. Yeah, Valerie.
Patricia. Yeah, I could like if you're named after. I feel like everyone there is named after your grandmother.
Trisha.
Even Bella Swan is like. Most of them have like normal names or like names named at like they're like traditional small town names.
I don't know. Maybe. But anyway, she has that. She walks Abe, the old man, like up the stairs every morning. She goes for her runs. She works on the bar. Yeah. She's like, this is nice. Hannah's like, okay, here's the thing. Piper obviously feels guilty for ditching me all the time, but she also obviously wants to be with Brendan. So I'll just move into your house, Brendan. Like, don't twist my arm. I'll move into your guest room. He's like, all right, immediately.
He's like, go pack immediately.
Yeah. Immediately.
He's like, of course.
And Piper's at first like, she's like, we have to have a no kissing before teeth brushing rule. And Brendan's just like, no, we're not doing that. And
he's like, I'm literally waking you up with an orgasm every morning. Like, do not worry. You don't have to worry about me. You do not have to worry about me.
They roll up. Brendan opens the door in his gray sweatpants. I would just like that.
Yes, I did note that as well.
And he has gotten Hannah a record player, which is like a huge like check mark for him.
Well, he said he like pulled it out from the basement or something.
Oh yeah, but he got it out for her. Yeah,
and Hannah's like, oh man, like if I had known I would have had this to use, I would have bought that like Fleetwood Mac vinyl that I saw at the expo, but like it was really expensive. And don't worry, somebody else who just happened to know about the vinyl expo,
oh my god,
did buy it for her. But just as friends, totally platonic.
A friend vinyl expo. And so yeah, they have their little routine. Piper has been making like pasta sauce and spaghetti every single day, and Brendan's like, I'm kind of sick of Italian, but like I'm not gonna say that, like I'll eat it every day, because she's like so proud of herself. Which like presumably they've had to eat Italian every day too. I don't know, it just doesn't. Brendan's totally fine with eating the same thing every day, I thought, because like Piper's eventually like, are you ever gonna tell me you're sick of it? Like we've had a bet going.
but also the sauce isn't very good, so she's like, Hannah and I have like been waiting to see, and he's like, you should have lost the bet. You should have assumed that I was never going to insult anything that you could.
Right.
And also she's like, she has a thought where she's like, I'm gonna stay. She decides to stay in Westport. And of course that means that it's almost time for the third act breakup, because you can't have that kind of security. Also, they've named the bar, just as a side note, they've named the bar after their dad. They name it Cross and Daughters,
which would be a perfect name for a bakery, frankly. Like I feel like they're actually maybe I'm thinking
buns.
And Daughters. Like I feel like because Five Daughters is bakery, I think in Nashville. And it can be very strong bakery vibes. But it's a bar.
It's a good store name. It's a good some sort of business name. Cross and Daughters. Yeah.
Bakery. Yeah. Ring-a-ling-a-ding.
Piper asked Brendan if he wants kids.
Oh yeah.
And before he can answer, the phone ring of doom happens.
Yeah. Brendan has been like on edge this whole time about whether Piper will stay, and he's like, I don't want to pressure her, but like I really need to know. And like I get it's like he's very like tense, and he's just like her phone has been ringing a lot since Seattle.
And they did have a very, I'm pretty sure they had an explicit conversation in which he's like, I'm not going to, I think it's like right after the jeans shopping thing, like after Kirby calls her and like she tells him like what Kirby said. He's very much like, I am not going to pressure you. Like, you take this in your own time. But yeah, it is starting to like grate on him.
So it's Daniel. And Daniel's like,
Daniel. Back at it again with the white fans.
Daniel.
Back at it again with the shitty parenting.
He's like, yeah, I gotta go to New York, so I'm not coming to your grand opening. Like, toodles. Bitch.
No. This is what he calls and he says, is the party still on? Because he's like, I know how flaky you are. He doesn't cancel here. He says, is the party still on? And Brendan loses his goddamn mind. He's like, oh my God, the party that you're throwing so that Daniel will let you come home. You were never going to stay.
You were leaving yourself all these escape hatches, these like safety nets. Like, how could you?
They get in a big fight.
Where he's like, what the fuck? And Brendan's like, you know what? I'm going to go sleep on the boat and then I'm leaving tomorrow. And she's like, all right, well, I'll still be there in the morning to wave you goodbye. And he's like, fine. And he's like, I guess if you don't show up, it means you've left to LA. Fine.
Yeah, it's essentially established if she doesn't show up, like they're breaking up.
Right. And it's just like, you just hear the fates like cackling in the background. Because it's exactly the kind of shit you never want to say, because that's going to guarantee that something bad will happen to one of you. And as a result, the other one will assume that they just broke up with you instead of that they need rescue or like, you know, something bad happened, obviously.
Yes. And in fact, Brendan storms out. Piper goes for her daily walk with Abe. And guess who decides to have his first fall of the summer?
Little tumble. Abe and not call an ambulance. He's like, no, like just stay with me an extra half hour while my son gets here, which like, sure, but it makes her miss the boat.
But she's still like, there's like 10 minutes between that. She's about to drop Abe off and like go. So she has like 10 minutes to make it to the boat. So even if they did call an ambulance, like, I mean, she would probably have to ride with him to the hospital.
Yeah,
like, either way, she's not.
No. I'm just saying, like, it's just like compilation of things. She gets to the dock and she's like crying, and all the other wives are there. The boat has already left, and they're basically like, "You need to toughen up." Like, why are you crying? Like, good thing you weren't here, because you would have like jinxed the voyage and like made them distracted.
So Piper's just getting punched like one blow after the other. Brendan's breaking up with her. The ladies are being unintentionally mean to her, and now fucking Daniel cancels. He's not gonna come because he's the worst. And so she's sad, but she's like, oh, it's okay. Like, the rest of the town said they were going to come. And then nobody shows up to their Labor Boy party, or so they think. It's their Labor Day party. That's the grand opening.
It is one and the same. Oh,
yes.
I thought it was weird that they weren't like the same day. I was like, why don't you just combine it?
No, it is. They're specifically, they're like, because when Piper tells Hannah, she's like, we're going to do a Labor Day party. And Hannah's like, you mean in 8 days?
Well, and when no one shows up, I was kind of like, this whole time I was like, well, yeah, they had this like cool, like hangout, which wasn't free. It was like at cost, basically alcohol, just free space to hang out. And now you're going to turn it into a place they have to pay. Like, yeah, obviously no one's going to be into that. But that's not the reason. It's because like there's been a fire on the floor.
Don't. So no one shows up, or so they think. And then goddamn Nick bringing down the mood again.
And he basically comes in, he's like, I guess there's just not much appetite for change around here. And Piper's like, I know he means like me versus his daughter.
Basically, you'll never measure up to my daughter. Yeah.
Right. And then he leaves. And Hannah's basically like, Piper, like, your Piper sparkle is gone. Like, maybe you should go back to LA to go to the party. Like, just to like, you know, just try it. And Piper's like, it would be like a sedative right now to go back to the party. And then we cut to Brendan on his ship, like, quote, locked into a sedated state since leaving. So I thought that was a nice little parallel.
Wow. I didn't notice that. Wow. I just immediately skipped to be like, dumb Brendan is like finally gets cell service and realizes how much of a dum-dum he's been. But before that, he like reaches into his pocket, like he's brooding in the rain. This man, he's like, it starts to rain, but I don't have the energy to go back into the cabin and get my slicker. But then someone brings him his slicker, and then he puts his hand in the pocket and he pulls out a picture of Piper. And on the back, she's like, get home safe, Captain, love you, or something like that, like XOXO. And he's like, no. And then he's like, what the fuck? Like, why was I being such a dick? He's like, well, I should have been glad she was keeping safety nets. Like, what did I expect for her to like commit to this town in like a month? Like, that was insane. Like, I should have like wanted her to like do what made her comfortable. And I love that he realizes it before he gets cell service, because then he gets cell service and he gets a text from Piper that she sent like 3 days ago. She's like, I'm coming, like, wait for me. And there was an emergency. And he's like, oh my God, what if she's in the fucking hospital? And I sailed off and she was hurt. And he's just like going absolutely feral. And he like Tom Cruise, like in Mission Impossible, Daniel Craig sprints to the bar and he's like, and he's already been late because there was like a storm and like the off coast and they were like delayed. So he's already late to the party. He like sprints up and he's like, somebody better produce my girlfriend right the fuck now. But then Hannah's overwhelmed and it's super crowded.
Bars popping.
Bars popped.
And it turns out there was a freak oil rig gasoline fire offshore where there was like a local boy. So everyone was worried and wanted to make sure he was okay before coming to party. So
and
that's
Hannah's
why they were
like,
all late.
We really need to get a television. And I'm like, Patty and Val couldn't have texted her.
Right. Like
nobody could have been like, hey, everyone's running late because like we're making sure
like Joey down the street, down the block is fine. Yeah.
Like what? And I do like, I just realized like this parallel of like Piper had like one gut punch after the other. And like now Brendan is having one gut punch after the other. And like they're just falling apart without each other.
He shows up and Hannah's like, yeah, she fucking left. And Brendan's like, it couldn't be true. But even as I thought that, I knew it was because I can't feel her, like her presence.
Hannah's like, she lost her Piper sparkle. And Brendan is like, no! And then he finds out that like her and Abe were friends and she's been making friends. And he's like, oh my God, she was going to stay. Like, and then Mick is like, I may have implied that she was never going to replace my daughter. And Brendan is like, Mick? He's like pinching the bridge of his nose. He's like, Mick, I really want to punch you in the face right now, but I'm not. You need to get right with it.
A dagger twisted between Brendan's eyes. That was a nice metaphor. Yeah. Oh my God.
This man is in so much pain. And I love, this is it. Like from the like the breakup, he goes and sleeps in the boat to the end. I just like every button of mine is pushed. I love every second of it.
So basically he's like, all right, gotta go get her. He like zooms off somehow, unclear, like car, boat.
He has a
plane.
Yeah.
He gets
a boat.
Yeah. LA. And cut to Piper on like what seems like a cool ass like unicorn, like an animatronic unicorn that she's gonna be like lowered up or like raised up.
She's rising up out of the stage. Yeah.
And she has like glitter. And when she waves her wand, the glitter is gonna go off. And it's like Kirby's there and she's like, make sure you like time it and beat the beat to your song, which is Girls Just Want to Have Fun remixed with Sexy and I Know It. And I was like, oh my God, I need to hear that. That has to exist. And then I couldn't, in a cursory YouTube, well, I'm sure, maybe, I don't know, in a cursory YouTube search didn't come up right away.
Listeners, you know what to do. I know one of you has some sort of talent with sound mixing. It's gotta be. We want it. We want it. I expect this in my inbox within an hour of this episode going up.
Listener, and Piper does not want to be there. She's like, I just want to go home. By home, I mean Westport and Brendan's house. So she gets on the stage and she like gets off the unicorn, like runs. She sees Brendan in the crowd.
And he's taken his beanie off and he has it pressed to his chest and he's like staring at her with love in his eyes. She's like, Brendan! And it's that classic like, Brendan, Piper! And they're like pushing through the crowd. Yeah. And then dickhead Adrian appears and Brendan flicks him aside like a pesky ant. Yes. And then we have another hooju and Brendan's like, do you want to stay or go? And Piper's like, get me the fuck out of here. So he does.
And they're like, I love you. And Brendan's like, we can either go home or we can stay at my hotel room across the street. Which like, that's what I was like, when did he have time to get that? Like, when did he have time to get like on a plane?
It was the day before the party. The party was the next day. It was the day after Labor Day.
Okay.
So they've had 24 hours.
He took the time to like get a hotel room instead of just like immediately. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, he's like, she's going to be tired. Well, because he doesn't know where to find her. He doesn't know Kirby's. Hannah's like, I don't have Kirby's number. So she's going to be at this party. And this is the only place that I know. She's like not going to be at home because Daniel can't know she's back in LA.
Right. And they say, I love you. And I thought it would have been nice to like save the I love yous for this moment. I don't know. It was fine like, the way it was. But this would have been like even more like, I don't know, like climactic.
Yeah. I also really I like that like Brendan, like, I mean, throughout the book, he's like a man of like very few words. He doesn't speak. He just grunts. But here he gives like a big, like, it's like 2-page like monologue essentially of like all the stuff that he loves about her, all the stuff he's going to do about her. He's like, if you want, like, we can live in LA and I'll just go up there for like crab fishing season and like I'll get another boat. And she's like, no, I want to live in Westport.
Yeah, like it was becoming part of me too, like while I was there.
Yeah, he's like, I'm ready. He's like, why the fuck fuck does she have to give up everything? Like, I can give up some things too. Like, we can make it work. I like fix things. I like, you know, with my bare hands. I am Poseidon, god of the sea.
My bare hands. Yeah. And he basically like packs up her stuff like right away from like Daniel's house, and like unclear how the court fees get paid, but like whatever, the legal fees.
Well, Daniel probably pays it because Daniel's like, I don't know, they've learned their lesson.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just never once does nobody apologizes. Yeah, and the epilogue is where you get one last reminder about how much Maureen and Daniel suck, because
what happens?
Like, they go and like visit them before they go back to Westport, and I just felt like it was another. I was like, wow, I hate them.
It's also time for Hannah to leave, and the day that she's leaving, like to go back to LA at her job, there's a little package left by a little Christmas elf dog / puppy on the porch.
Potential Christmas fox? One might say
that aforementioned Fleetwood Mac album that Hannah really wanted, and she's like, "Oh, what a nice neighborly thing to do!" Like,
she's like, "What a friend!"
Yeah, just like the truck, right?
Yeah.
And Pepper's like, "Sure."
They live happily ever after.
Yeah, nice crisp fall weather. I just really enjoyed Piper's like going to the docks to wait for the ship to come back, and she's like, all the people are standing around sipping coffee in the cool fall weather, speculating on the ship's hull. I just enjoyed that. But also, like, do they all really come down every time? Like every single time they come down to wait for the like?
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you're like partner or your like son or whoever, like if there's a large chance he may die, I can see wanting to make sure like as early as possible that he's okay.
Like, for fish, I just can't believe that we don't allow people to get paid for donating a kidney, but this is allowed. Like, in the one case, you're literally saving a human life. In the other case, you're killing fish lives to get people fish to eat. Like, why?
But Rachel, it's the love of the ocean. Brendan goes on this whole spiel at one point.
Yeah, but what about the love of saving someone's life?
People just they come for a season. Like, I just see they're not really in it, but every once in a while there'll be a man, and the ocean is like romancing him. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
Poseidon is a slut. He gets around.
You know what else is romantic? Saving a life with a kidney.
What else is romantic? Not dying and leaving and widowing your spouse. But it's an HEA. It's a romance novel, so we know that Brendan never dies and lives a long life.
To be clear, like, I think the fishing thing is stupid. I'm not saying people shouldn't be allowed to do it. I'm just saying, like, if we're gonna let people do that, we should let it much less dangerous and much more like very it's not even arguably, it's unambiguously beneficial. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, guess what time it is? It's time for the fan cast.
Oh fuck!
You made us wait to the end.
It's Annie. What's her face?
Okay.
And Mutt.
My fan cast is, because I don't know what the Brendan equivalent on that show looks like. I only know what. I don't want to know. I know that he looks exactly like how Brendan's described in the book. I don't want to know.
No, he's not.
I am imagining Henry Cavill, specifically Henry Cavill in the first Superman movie when he is, guess what, playing a fisherman and has a beard. When like Clark Kent is like being a deep sea like oil fisherman guy or like oil rig guy. He's like in the ocean and he has a very nice beard. I'm imagining that. And for Piper, I mean, I don't know. Okay, so I said Dove Cameron because she's actually an actress, but this came up when I was like digging. There's this girl that's like, I mean, she's like Piper. She's just like an influencer / quote unquote model or whatever. Her name is Michelle Randolph. She's the sister of Cassie from Colton season on The Bachelor.
Oh, interesting.
And she was like dating this guy from Wizards of Waverly Place for a long period of time. I don't know.
There's only like two of the guys. There's only two.
One of the boyfriend, one of Alex's boyfriends in Wizards of Waverly Place. Greg something, I think is her real name. Anyway. But I saw a picture of her and I was like, oh, like that's it.
What's her name?
Michelle Randolph. But she's not an actress. So I don't know if she counts as a fan cast. But I saw her and I was like,
I can see that.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, now what time is it, Rachel? Second guess.
Cat scale. Pretty low, I would say, overall.
You don't think Brendan's a cat?
No.
What is he?
No, because cats aren't routine oriented. I feel like cat keeps you on your toes. I don't know.
They're routine oriented, but the routine is not intelligible to humans.
It's a crab. You are what you eat, I always say.
Okay. That's
Okay.
Piper. Piper does have that one cat moment.
A unicorn.
She's a dog. Golden retriever.
Fair enough, maybe.
Cats do eat fish. We do have to take this into account.
That's true. Everyone in this book eats fish.
The
That's
foundation
true.
of this book is very
It's
cat-centric.
Quite fishy.
It's very fishy. That has to be factored in somehow.
But I just feel like, yeah, the word pussy is used, but I don't know, just low vibes overall.
Yeah.
Which this is like a great example of like great book, low cat scale though. Like this is if you were doubting us.
3,
2,
2,
1,
1, 4. Yeah. 4.
Nice.
All right. Where can they find us, Rachel?
You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at We Read It One Night. You can find us on Twitter at We Read It Podcast. And you can also email us, wereaditonenight@gmail.com. Also, leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen, should that be available to you. If you would like to leave a little Easter egg for this particular episode, Alison, what could they leave?
If you could be any fish or ocean creature, what would it be?
Nice.
That's including like whales and stuff. It's not just fish. They can be mammals too. Crustaceans, anything that lives in the ocean.
If you're really inspired by like a brackish water creature, that's also acceptable.
Like, you can do like the blue crab
otter.
Mentioned at the beginning of this episode. Sea otter is also possible.
Yeah.
I'll extend it to any water-based creature. So if you want to do like a frog.
What about those hyenas that were hunting the seals in that Babies documentary?
No, because they don't live in the water.
That we know of. If anyone could do it, beach hyenas.
You could get creative with it. You could make up your own fish. If you want to do like the rainbow fish from that children's book, it's also a possibility.
Yes. Oh my gosh. More people need to. How many people are familiar with that?
That's a very famous book.
Like theoretically, sure. But I feel like I brought it up to a lot of people.
No,
like IRL,
it's
and they haven't
a very
known
famous
it.
book.
All right. Godspeed, comrades. Time to go watch some Schitt's Creek.